You want to take it away, Dennis, or
Oh no,
am I
it's all
rolling?
you.
Well,
It's
first I
you.
want to thank Dennis Shao, our founder for Bay Area Content Marketing Meetup. Welcome everyone in our 10th year now, more than 4,000 members
Wow.
who are truly active. I see you on the call today. Why? Well, Joe Pulizzi's here, and we know Joe, founder of the Content Marketing Institute, coined the term content marketing. Someone to blame or thank for that. I think thank.
No.
Today we're going to talk about his latest playbook, his latest book, rather, Burn the Playbook. I haven't burned mine. I still have mine. And I just a couple quick things to share about Joe. It's rare when you meet someone who is not only highly intelligent but very generous with his knowledge and genuinely just a kind person. He and his wife Pam, shout out to the Orange Effect, a foundation which delivers speech therapy and technology services to more than 450 children in 40 states. I'll drop a link to that. I think, Joe, you do an annual golf-a-thon that is a good sponsorship opportunity while you're out on the course raising money for a good cause. So today, though, I think it's about burning the playbook. So, Joe, I have a couple provocative questions. I think you might have a presentation, but I did want to thank you for presenting to our meetup for the fourth time. Fourth time's a charm. I think the fifth time you do get a jacket, like on SNL. And with that, I'll say welcome, Joe. Good to see you
Is
again.
is this a record? Have I been on the most, or is there somebody else that I need to
I
take
think
out?
Brian Piper. Brian, are you on here? Is Brian one of our leading guys,
It's
Okay.
presenters?
actually
All right.
Brian
Well,
is multiple. It's the record holder is Kyle Akerman. I think he's done seven
oh,
on Google
Kyle,
Analytics.
that's okay. We can take Kyle out. I'm not. Brian's not a problem. We're gonna. Well, it's hard. First of all, thank you for having me. It is. I can't say no to Dennis and Rich. Whenever you guys have been so helpful with my career and all the things that I've been trying to do and supportive. So I truly appreciate that. And this is kind of a different. You're right, Rich. What I'll give a quick presentation.
Okay.
We have, what do we have till an hour, like total?
Yeah. Save some time for Q&A. I'll also
So yeah.
handle
So,
questions in the chat.
let me do like 20 or 25 minutes, folks.
Okay.
And I'll go through this. I have some slides, so I'll bring them up in a second. But this is a different book because this is not just a marketing and business book. I believe this is a book for anybody who's a little bit stuck, who's trying to figure out what their next step is. And it was specifically written for, I think, this window of time that I believe we have right now because of what's happening with AI. And I'll share that in a second. So let me bring this, see if this works, and then you can all tell me if it's working. How's that look there? Does that, can you see it? We're good?
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
So I wrote this book for my kids because they would never listen to me. And so I'm like, what can I tell them? How do I tell them all the things I want to tell them about what's going on, about how to position themselves, about how to believe in themselves, the habits to build so you can be successful in business and in your personal life. So I wrote this, and what was wonderful is I wrote the draft. They read the draft first. We went to an Olive Garden to review. That was their choice, by the way. And I don't have anything against Olive Garden, but we got together. They made notes, and a lot of those notes made it into this final edition of Burn the Playbook. So you just know where my heart is at. This was a very important book for me. It's probably, as I said, it's built for anyone who's struggling with a few of these things we're going to talk about. But I mean, I'd love to get this in the hands of kids that are just coming out of high school or college, because I think a lot of it, the inspiration, besides my kids, was Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Every chapter starts with, here's what Napoleon Hill said, and here's how I interpret that for today. And I'm going to talk about a lot of these things moving forward. I just mentioned, I believe we have 3 years, probably less if you talk to Christopher Penn, who's an expert in AI. But I believe that's kind of the amount of time we have before our devices, which will be our glasses, our phones, our cars, our houses, will deliver synthetic content to us that will take out the marketer or the creator from that equation. We can get into all the specifics. You have questions about that, but that's kind of where I see things going. We already know the research: 57% of all content created out there is either AI generated or AI influenced. That'll be over 90% in 12 months. It'll be 99% in 2 years. And then you may or may not be looking for your latest creator when you want to watch something. Your AI or your whatever we're hooked up to at the time, or it's going to deliver exactly what you want at that time, and a lot of it's going to be created on the fly. I don't know how this is going to happen. I'm generally bad at predictions, but this is what I feel is going to happen. So I figure we have an opportunity, and this is the opportunity where we need to move off the platforms and focus on things we can own and things we can control. And for those of you that have read any of my other books, ownership is a key to every one of them. And that's sort of the key to content marketing. Content marketing is all about controlling, owning the data so that we can have direct relationships with our audience. This is the same thing, but I feel there's an urgency right now. And you can do this. Like, if you're listening to this as a representative of a company, as a B2B marketer, great. You can use a lot of these things to make your content marketing or marketing program better. I believe that right now, individually is really where we need to focus. So I want you to think about, yes, you have your LinkedIn presence. You maybe write for your company. You have YouTube channel for your company. But I think that if if I was to compel you to do something, is to think about yourself and building up your direct relationships with something that you can do and you can create. So I'll just leave that with you, and we can get into the specifics in a little bit. Here's my three things. This is my new mission. As Rich said, my whole thing was about I really believe that I needed to educate the world on content marketing, and I started that back in the year 2000 when I was at a publishing company called Penton Media. Now I'm really into helping creators, entrepreneurs, individuals find whatever meaning is to them, whatever's important is to them, how they can distill that and figure that out, how they can then take that to have some kind of freedom in their decision making, control over their lives, and then how to ultimately build generational wealth. And we'll get to that as well. So what do I mean by these things? Meaning, do work aligned with what you stand for. What do you stand for? Like if somebody asked you, what do you really believe in? What is that thing that really compels you? Like Rich talked about the orange effect in speech therapy. My wife and I we'll talk till we're blue in the face about the importance of early detection, diagnosis, and speech therapy for kids who need it. So we've been building around that for a long time. But for you, what is your meaning? Freedom. How do you control, specifically to what we're talking about today? How do you control the distribution of what you have to say and what you create, your data, and ultimately the business model? And then how do you create assets for you? Not it could be your business, but for you that compound. And what we want to think about is multiple lines of revenue. So everybody here probably has a job. You have one line of revenue, which is fine. But in order to protect ourselves, which I think is what's coming, I think we need multiple lines of revenue. And we can do that by owning some things and creating some things. And we'll talk about that. So let's just discuss how we get there. The first thing is we've if you believe it, if you live it, you can make it true. First of all, you have to believe that you can do something. But what I found out in talking with a lot of people around this book, people don't know what they want. If you ask somebody, what do you want? That's got to be the toughest question in the world. They don't know. A lot of people do not know what that goal is. So we want to figure out, what are we striving for around that meaning? What is important to us? We really want to be goal driven. And again, this has been in every book I've ever written. I talk about writing this goal down, and this is the exact goal I wrote in my journal in January 2008 when we were launching what became Content Marketing Institute. And I read this goal every morning, and before I went to sleep at night, I read this goal so it would work into my subconscious, and it was very important. And I'm not into hocus pocus or anything like that, but I do believe absolutely that you can bring things into existence if you believe them enough, and then you put the work in behind it. And we're going to talk about that in a second. And I love Billy Joel. Like, talk about Billy Joel's goal. And I just watched this documentary, and I highly recommend it if you haven't done it. It's one of the best documentaries I've ever watched. His goal was always to play music and pay his bills. Done. That's it. So very, very simple. So you can almost simplify that for you. What is your ultimate goal? What do you want that to be? And so I would figure out and spend some time. If you don't know what your goal is, let's figure it out over the next 2 weeks. But you really want to write this thing down so you can review it on a regular basis. It could be in your phone too, but I would try to do it in a journal. Because ultimately we want to get to this. You're in a conversation with somebody. you're at the next meetup, which is November 11th, right? November 11th, San Mateo, right? I won't be there, but I'll be there in spirit with you. Somebody's going to talk to you. You're going to want to say, who are you? What do you do? Let's say, what project are you working on right now, like in the next 3 to 6 months? And what's your 5-year goal? These are the things you're going to want to know that I have found that when you ask the first two questions, easy, right? You've all got it. You ask the last two questions, very difficult for people to come up with that, especially the last one. So these are the things we want to start thinking about and have an answer to, because I really believe if you don't write it down, and you don't believe in it, you can't have it. You absolutely will never get it. So we want to strive towards these things and make them real. But unfortunately, thinking positive and believing in it is not enough. We've got to put some structure on it, some habits, and we're going to talk about that. And what I would so your to do is I want you to think about doing this, and it's called a Misogi goal. It's a Japanese way of thinking where you're basically setting up what I call a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal to accomplish something that may end in failure, maybe 50% chance of failure. But we're not going to fail with this. We're actually going to go through this project, and you can do this from whatever goal that you want to choose right now that's going to protect your future. And what would that be? So think personally for a second. This could be a blog for you. This could be a newsletter, email newsletter. This could be a book. This could be a video series. It could be a podcast. This is something for you around something that you will differentiate. We'll talk about figuring that differentiation out in a second. But I believe that if you can own something before AI takes over the entire algorithm and makes it very, very difficult to be found and discovered, that we have an opportunity to build direct relationships right now. So that's why I want to compel you to do that. So once we figure out that goal, what we're going to do, you're going to have this Misogi goal, this big, hairy, audacious goal. You're going to tell 5 people about it. These are not people that follow you on LinkedIn or your Twitter X followers or anything. These are people that you know that will help keep you accountable. It's very scary to do this, by the way. I'll give you an example of what I did in a second. So tell those 5 people, and then you want to document the journey. I would recommend using a nice moleskin notebook. I'm a big fan of pen on paper. If you want to use your notes section of your phone or your iPad, that's fine as well. But we want to document all parts of the journey. I'll give you an example of my Misogi goal. I started in March. Tell you a little bit of personal story about myself. My dad has an aggressive form of Alzheimer's. So did his 2 sisters before they passed away. I actually not kid, but as much as you can with my cousin for years, because we always just were resigned to the fact that we were going to get Alzheimer's. And I started at the beginning of the year, I really started to do a lot of reading and a lot of research about this. And I found out that there are things that you can do preventative to prepare the way. And I think about this a lot with what's going on with AI, actually, because AI is coming. We can't do anything about it. I believed Alzheimer's was coming. I can't do anything about it. Or can I? Can I train my way there? So what I did is I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do so I can help stave this off. I'm going to cut out sugar entirely. I'm going to work out every day, run 4 days a week, work out 4 or 5 days a week, and I'm going to cut out all processed foods as much as possible. And then I went to time-based eating. So I don't start eating until noon Eastern time, and I stop eating at 8 every day. Those are the 4 things that I did. And I kept track of them. So you'll see on the screen, these are my workouts that I scribble in my notebook. And then I use Habit Bull to track my workouts and my running every day as well, so that I can figure out who I'm becoming. By the way, it's gone very well. I've lost 25 pounds. I feel better than I've ever had before. I'm still tweaking the program, but that's the kind of thing that you can do with a Misogi goal. The research tells us it takes us 66 days to build a habit. So that's why you go through this process of, I would say, at least 60 days. So 60, 61. You spend 60 minutes a day for 60 days on your one goal. If you do this and you're honest with yourself, whatever that is, you will build a habit by the end of it, which I'm through that. Like, it's so funny. It was so difficult for me to do the 12 to 8 every day. I'm like, oh man, I got to wait till 12. And then, oh, I got to stop eating at 8. Now it's the easiest thing ever because I built the habit. That's what I do. I don't eat until 12. I don't eat after 8. Done. I don't eat processed foods. Done. I don't eat desserts. Just your body and your brain work together. And in the first 3 weeks, it was horrible. I love chocolate sprinkles. I wanted chocolate sprinkles all the time. I wanted to, on every ice cream. I wanted to do the whole thing. But now I'm okay. Like I can deal with that. But these are the kinds of things that we want to do. So figure out your Misogi goal. I'd like you to challenge that. I'd like you to keep me updated. You can send me a note as you go. So that's kind of the first part. Get us to this goal of what is this goal going to be for you so you can have own something, some piece of content thing that you can move forward with and own. Second thing is how do we position it? And this is where remember in the past when we were in marketing, it was okay to be vanilla. We didn't want to go too far outside. We didn't want to freak a lot of people out. But you know what the core of content marketing is, we really want to focus on differentiating ourselves, what we would call a content tilt. And this is where personally you can lean into your crazy because the opportunities for business models in the future are not going to, it's going to be very difficult to scale in that environment. What you can do is build, like you have done here, with this group that you have in the Bay Area is that you've built something very small, but very powerful. You have these direct relationships. You've built shared meaning, you've built shared experiences, and you've done that because, you know, you are who you are. And you're led by some really cool people. But for you specifically, you want to lean into that crazy, talk about this tilt, this differentiation area that you can separate you from the rest of the pack. And this is if you want to do like a worksheet, it's a nice little worksheet. So if you're not doing something or you're doing something halfway when it comes to your personal content creation, I want you to list like 10 things that are meaningful to you or that you're endlessly curious about. And I filled this out for you, kind of see where we're going. So this is like me. This is me, right? Some of this is really boring, by the way. So I just, roll mine. Oh, B2B publishing, marketing. By the way, that's how content marketing sort of started. I love print, baseball memorabilia, Billy Joel, Color Orange, speech therapy, running, writing, all that kind of stuff. I had to put Bitcoin in there. Sorry. So those things I'm interested. So if you do this, you can figure out you can lean into one of those things, or you can take one or two and create what Adam Alter calls a recombination, which I think all great tilts come from a recombination. So I can take B2B publishing and marketing and I mash that up. And what does that become? It becomes really B2B content marketing, if you will. So think about those types of things to get to a point where you can figure out your tilt. So there's your little exercise for finding your tilt. What people do you help specifically? Because we want to get this focused. Anybody in B2B knows we want to be as targeted as we can to one audience. What people, what content for what benefit? And then you write that down, and that's sort of your tilt. That's kind of your living mission statement as you move forward and figure that whole thing out. Okay, well, how do I take that and operationalize it? So what a lot of people do is they create lots of different things on lots of different topics, which you can do and you can be successful, but it's very difficult. What you want to do is take this tilt that you've leaned into your crazy, leaned into what makes you unique, and you want to repeat it over and over in as many different ways as you can. And what I've really found out is you cannot repeat enough. Like you could write an article in your newsletter, and you could write an article that's on the same thing the next week and go to a little different, and then you could write an article on the same thing in the third week, and you just kind of keep moving it a little bit, but you become known for something. Like what is that focus area that you become known for? And I always think about how long this takes and how we really have to move forward fast but slow, if you will. If you think about the bamboo tree, some bamboo trees, they grow underneath the ground for 3 to 4 years. Like you don't even see them. And then in a matter of months, they'll grow, start growing inches and feet per day. They just shoot up like crazy. This is what that does. If you just work it slow, and it was very similar when we launched Content Marketing Institutes. Basically, I started in 2007. I thought I thought it was not going to work. 2009, I was going to give up entirely. Lo and behold, March of 2010, March to May of 2010, it just takes off. everything just starts working. Well, we're talking about the same thing over and over again in different formats for 3 years it took before we started to shoot up. And a lot of people, if you say like, why do content creators fail, which I work with content creators on a regular basis, most give up too soon is the problem. Most content marketing efforts give up too soon as well. So I want you to think about, okay, what's my tilt? What's my differentiation area? And then how can I talk about that same thing all over the place? As many places as I can. And I got a really good example from the books that I've written. So these are my 10 books. Folks, even the murder mystery that I wrote, Will to Die, it's all covers the same thing. It's all content marketing. I've basically just content marketing introduction, content marketing operations, content marketing enterprise, content marketing small business. These same. So if you want to figure this thing out, you just say, okay, how do I take the thing that I want to be that, and I'm going to repackage it over here and repackage it over here. Where a lot of speakers go wrong, they want to get on the speaking circuit, they come up with a new presentation every time. Now, if you've seen me speak in person, I'm sorry about this, but I pretty much do the same speech for the last 20 years. It's a content marketing speech. I just change it a little bit back and forth. So this is what I want you to start thinking about is this is where we can create a lot more momentum and energy instead of starting over fresh every time. A couple more, and then we'll get to some questions. This is really important. This is like kind of a personal thing. When you get up in the morning, the first thing you have to do is not get into helping somebody else's business model. For example, LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook or Reels or whatever, right? So if the first thing you're doing in the morning is, or email for that matter, if you're getting in and helping somebody else's business model, Google or X's or TikTok or whatever, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're also programming your day in completely the wrong way. We want to make sure we create before we consume. And that could be, by the way, just jotting down a few lines in a notebook, right? You don't have to like get all set up at your computer. Just make sure that you do something creative and you start building that habit before. And I think that what we've done is we end up programming ourselves and we're losing time. This little prompt is here just to talk about some social media research. The average American spends 3 to 4 hours a day on social media and news. If you take that, if you start at age 18 and you go to age 80, that's 10 years of time. 10 years, if you add it all up, consecutive years, not just like working hours. It's 10 full years of time that we have lost. And I'm telling you this because I want you to feel cringy when you start. By the way, it's fine. You can get on. I know some friends that's their downtime and they get on TikTok and they love it. But I want you to know that when you say that you don't have time, or you say that you think a certain way because of this, this, and this, you are doing that to yourself. What could we do with that time? We could create something amazing with that time, even a small percentage of that time. So that's why I want you to get up and start programming yourself to create before you start consuming someone else. If you don't know how much time you spend, and I've found out from doing these little time audits with people, they don't know. Like they'll say, oh, I spend like 45 minutes a day. And then you realize I have a friend that we did this to, which I'm not going to say her name because I'm embarrassed for her. I said, how much time do you spend on TikTok a day? She said, I probably spend like an hour and a half. I said, well, we can find that out. Let's go onto your phone. She's spending an average of 6 hours a day. 6 hours a day on TikTok. So what you could accomplish so much in that time. Our time is fleeting. If we go 10 years from now, we are going to look back at this moment and we are going to say, wow, we had this great, amazing opportunity. So I want you to take that opportunity now. And sometimes we need a little slap in the face to say, you're spending too much time doing some other things. This last one, I think this is my last one before we start talking about some other things. Get better friends. Tell you this little story. So this was before my wife and I just decided that we were going to start a little event in Cleveland, Ohio called Content Marketing World. So this was at the end of 2010. First Content Marketing World was September 2011. And we got together at Stone Mad, this beautiful little restaurant on the west side of Cleveland. and all our friends were around, and we made this announcement. You got to remember, like, this was I didn't have any money at the time. We had no money. We were completely broke. We were in debt, but we decided to make this big play toward having this event. And I was nervous about it, but I have my friends around me. So I'm going in, sitting down, and I tell the friends, and the first response uh, was from my one friend. And he said, where are you and the other 27 people going to have your meeting at? Making a joke. Well, I still remember that. So that's how, that's how much of an impact it had on me. I did not associate with that friend for a long time. And I've since talked to him about it. Um, I could not have that negativity around me. And I'm giving you this example because you know who I'm talking about. You have people in your life that are holding you back. And you have to make sure you make a decision to get rid of those people or to not have them be around. It's very tough to do that. But if you have important things to do, you are at service to a group of people. You're going to make a great impact on the world. And to do that, you got to get some of these people out of your way so that you can do this. Here's the 5 types of people that I really want you to focus on. And so basically, number 1 is the truth teller. That is my wife. She calls BS on me. I totally trust her, but she will tell me when I'm wrong with something. It's not like that other friend that's fleeting. This is the person that I trust, and she's like got my back, so I don't make an idiot out of myself. She will tell me, "Hey, this is it." The super fan you need is somebody that really appreciates your work. That the person that's going to say, "Yes, I love what you're doing. Keep doing it." The expert, somebody that's where you want to be. So you're working on a thing. What is that thing in that industry? You need to connect with somebody that's ahead of you that you can learn from, that is your mentor. Then you have to have the peer, somebody that is in the arena with you, doing the things that you're doing. You can sort of work off each other and help each other. And the next is the connector. Who's the people that's going to introduce you to the people that you need to meet and talk to take your business and your life to the next step, next direction, wherever you're trying to take it. So these are the 5. These don't just happen, folks. These have to be strategic. So I want you to sort of write these down and say, okay, I need these. You already have a couple. Great. Check those boxes. Get the other ones. I have a couple I mean, I can go through each of these when I made this decision to build this out 20 years ago and put these people in my life. I can guarantee you I would not be here. There's no way. There's a couple connectors that I had. Meeting Don Schultz in Chicago, Dennis, when I sat down to eat with him at Gibson's restaurant. That's where he wanted to go. And I flew out there just to meet with him so that I could have him as my expert for the rest of my life. And he was incredible influence on my life. So those are the things that you need to do. They're tough decisions to make, but you can absolutely do it. So these are the things. The book talks about all these things in a different way. A lot of the book is talking about your mindset, belief as process, how to build these things, how to think about them, how to business model. That's all going to help. It's fine. But these are the 5 that we covered today. Really figuring out what that goal is that's going to protect you for this thing that I think is coming in 2 to 3 years. How do we do that? Great. You lean into you. This is the great part. You can lean into you. What makes you special? What makes you great? Lean into that crazy. And you'll really start finding in your meaning a little bit more. And then you figure out, okay, what's that tilt? What's that differentiation? And then how are you going to communicate that in multiple ways? So you don't have to reinvent the book every time. And then just the personal thing is, protect your brain, protect your process, protect your business model by creating before you consume. Do that time audit, if you will. And then we're not going to do this alone. Nobody ever makes it alone. You need a group around supporting you. So look at those 5 different types of people that can help you. All right. That's my intro, Rich and Dennis. That's what I have.
Bravo, Joe.
There you
I
go.
do expect some questions in the chat or people can come off mute. But before we dive in, I have a quote, a comment, and a question of my own. First, to quote from the book, and I love this. I'm not familiar with Theo Vaughn. I believe he's a comedian podcaster. And you have this up before the prologue. Theo says, anything is possible. That's how I look at it. There's electricity, there are shooting stars, there's lava, there are cats, there are snails. I think anything could happen. So that optimism
Love that
of
quote.
Theo, like anything's possible.
Anything's possible. I just listened to Josh Bechter. He's a creator that a lot of us follow. He posted today on Why Not Me? He
Right.
says it's always going to be somebody. So like,
Yeah,
why not me? And
yeah,
it's that belief. And that's what you find more and more where, when I was a younger man, I always thought that a lot of it was sort of hocus pocus and like you just can't believe yourself in your way into making your own reality. No, you can. You
yeah.
actually can. That's actually the way that you
Right.
want to do it. And I love that kind of thinking.
Well, then a quick comment you mentioned earlier, you're going to have to come, let's say you come to the meetup on the 11th. Who are you? What do you do? I will add in our community, we offer, how can we help you? And what help do you need? And that's a kind of a two-way street. And I
That's
find
great.
that in all you do in your presentation to us. And then finally, a question. What's the most dangerous myth that people still have about defining success? And how do we break that myth? Right? It used to be, you're going to go to college, you're going to get a degree, you're going to work, you're going to retire. It's a, what do we do to bust the old myth of what success looks like?
Um, the I think that a lot of people they don't realize that they're still sort of living the playbook that our parents were taught. Like, oh, I leave school and then I go to college. No, by the way, nothing wrong with this. I'm not.
Yeah.
I went to college. I got a master's degree, but you do all those things. And then I do the retire. I think a couple things that are miss. One is there is no real retirement. Dennis, you could probably speak to this. Like you could call it retirement. It's not retirement. We're not going to set ourselves up for retirement, nor do we want to. Um, the other thing that's really important, and I don't know why I just thought about this, Rich, but what we were talking about. Been following a lot of what Dr. Pita Tia talks about with his longevity and
Mm-hmm.
outlive. And a lot of the book, I have a couple chapters just on health, and that might be just because I'm in this area because we have family right now that we're dealing with on a daily basis that are going through some really trying times. And I don't think we realize that we have to constantly train ourselves for not just lifespan, but for this idea of health span.
Yeah.
We don't want to, what I'm seeing people live longer that I love that don't have lives.
Yeah.
And so I've sort of taken it. And if you talk to Pam, my wife, she'll say I'm gone way overboard with this, and I agree. I'm obsessive about this stuff. I do, but I believe I'm like training against a lot of things, and I've got to make sure that I'm around for my kids and my grandkids, and I want to make sure I know what their names are, and I'm figuring out that the most important thing we can do is build our strength so that we don't decline these last few years. I don't know why you didn't ask me that question, but
No,
that's
it's
that's what I thought of more than anything
yeah.
else. And I get a
Yeah.
lot of people, they've gotten to this point of retirement, they have a nest egg and then they physically and mentally can't use it,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no,
which
it's a
is
good
kind of sad.
dialogue. And I will shout out just the bibliography in the back of your book alone, the books that help inform you is worth its price. Uh, Quick administrative question, then we've got 20 minutes of questions here in the chat. Administratively, the slides you shared, would those be slides you might make available to our meetup afterwards?
Absolutely. I will send you the link immediately after this.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Dennis, do you want to help me with the questions here? Scrolling through, I see one question for Joe. Since you wrote the book for your sons, can you share details on how they're applying its principles to their lives?
Well, that's a whole different story, folks.
Yeah, we we have 20
I,
minutes.
yeah. Um, I love both my kids and I am extremely proud of them. But I have one that is doing wonderful that found a career and a life and a direction and has goals, and that's gonna have the other one that's struggling a little bit finding that. And maybe a lot of you that have kids have found that, and um and then as a parent I have to make sure it's not all, oh, here's what dad thinks. I got a quote for you. I gotta here read this thing. And I was that for a while where I was sending links and this, that, whatever. And now all I'm trying to do is sit down and listen. It's really all I'm trying to just don't go and talk and start everything with how's the job and whatever. Just listen, listen
Right.
and be present. So I I think the jury's out on some of it.
Yeah.
The good thing I can say is that they both have really good hearts and they're good people. So
Good, good, good. Thank you, Joe. Just going down the questions here from Colleen. Only 3 years before AI takes over, that is frightening. What should marketers do and small companies to prepare for this? This gets back to that
yep.
LinkedIn post, which I wanted to find a link for. We've got about 3 years. I'll find the link and drop it
Yeah, we
there.
can
So,
if you want to find the link, you can
yeah.
even bring it up. I think it's
Okay.
one of my last posts.
Yeah.
So this is a conversation. Brian, I think Brian Piper's on this, but
Yeah,
so
he
I have
is.
to give credit to Brian for this. So Brian and I are talking at Macon, which is Paul Reitzer's wonderful event that we were at. And, Brian mentioned, he's talking with Christopher Penn. It's amazing the people that we talked to. And we were saying, well, how much time do we have before our devices synthetically create content themselves, which is, um, it's not just pulling up a creator's content or a news blurb or a Netflix show. It is on the fly creating content for you. We are about 3 years from that. When that happens, if you don't have direct relationships with people, it'll be very hard to get discovered. So really, this is that Colleen who asked that question, Rich? Who's
Hmm.
so
I think so. Colleen.
Colleen.
I'm saying your
So
name right.
so really what we want to focus on right now is this idea of creating uh, anything that we can. And I'm thinking specifically with email newsletters, video series,
Mhm.
podcasts, where we can create direct relationships with people. Books maybe in there. Um, the opportunities are in in-person events, small communities, small memberships. This is going to be very difficult to scale as marketers to do any of this stuff at scale. But if we do these things now, we can get the data, we can get direct relationships with these people. They will hopefully trust us. They will know, like, and trust us. And if they know, like, and trust us, that we can create that relationship will go on beyond what happens with AI. So that's kind of what I'm trying to urgently push marketers into now. Create the thing. Yes, we're on all the platforms, and I'm not saying don't be on YouTube, and I'm not saying don't be on social, but again, leverage those social media channels and push that into things that you have the data and control over, like email, maybe a small private community platform or something like that, a small group somewhere, like what you're doing with Bay Area. These are the things that are going to make meaning and shared experience beyond, and AI can't take away from us. So that's kind of what I'm putting out for
Very good.
people
Very
right
good.
now.
You mentioned Brian, your co-author on Epic Content Marketing. He is on the call, and I see he has a question next. Segue to Brian. Brian asked, do you think there ever been a better time to build a personal brand? And if you were just starting, what would you do first? Where would you focus your efforts to prepare for what the next few years hold? So what does personal brand building look like in 2025, Joe?
I don't believe it's easy. I think it was easiest to build a personal brand in 2007 to 2012 because I don't want to say you could game it, but search engine optimization was gameable.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to know more about that, talk to Marcus Sheridan. Um, what I would do, and I'm taking this directly from our friend Jay Klaus, who runs an amazing site called Creator Science. If you haven't checked it out, please do. You have to find your thing, your word that you stand for. So if you think about James Clear, what's James Clear stand for? Habits, right? All about habits. When you think of Ann Handley, what do you think about? I think about writing,
Everybody
creative
writes,
writing, where everybody writes, writing some kind.
or everybody prompts.
Whatever it is. So you take your tilt, your differentiation, you're crazy, and figure out what that one word or two words is. And when that happens, put it everywhere. And I'm working on this now. Like I just wrote an article for my newsletter this week where I've been like my thing was always content marketing, but it's really not content marketing. It's really about ownership. It's really about ownership of the data so you can have these direct relationships. I've done a terrible job marketing that. If that is indeed the term, but I'm struggling with it. but everyone, so figure out what yours is, and then we want to put that
Yeah.
everywhere. We want to call our newsletter that, we want to call our podcast that, we want to put it in our LinkedIn bio. You want to do
Yeah.
all those things so that you know, because that's what people will remember
You
when
know who's
all
done
this
this
other
recently
stuff.
is Rand. Sorry to interrupt, Joe. Is
That's
Rand
okay.
Fishkin? You know, we're both followers, friends with Spark Toro. It's purveyors of fine audience research software. I think I'm bungling it, but he's putting that everywhere, and it's consistent. There's a tilt there. So,
It's good for him.
Brian, does
Yeah.
that answer your question? I'll move on. Chris asks, Joe, what problem statement or message resonates most with teens and 20 somethings? You know, given that that's a significant audience, you have 3 audiences for this book. That's one of them. What do you find resonating with that cohort?
What I think what resonates is that you don't have to do it the way it's been done.
Okay.
And actually, you probably shouldn't. So that, like, the thing when I start out and I say, you don't have to go to college. Now, granted, we got a lot of people on here. I grew up in a home where it's like, you are going to college.
Oh
You
yeah.
have no choice. Here's the areas of college that you could choose. And I'm like, I mean, we know enough today to say, well, do we? And
Yeah.
certainly we don't if we're going to put ourselves in debt for a long period of time, which I'm really, really against. So, I mean, I'm all for, um, f like, the security that we thought was secure is actually risky. Like,
Mhm.
working for a company. I mean, a lot of you are on the work for a company. A lot of you work for yourselves. Working for a company is probably the most risky thing that we can do in this light of age of AI, because you can be an amazing employee and you can be great at your job and you can get let go tomorrow. And if you don't know, ask the 20,000 Amazon people and the 10,000 UPS people and down the list where
Yeah.
we're going to get to. I mean, and by the way, it hasn't even gotten started yet. It's going to get crazy. So that's why we all need to diversify away from our jobs a little bit to protect ourselves. So that's kind of
Very
what
good.
what seems to be resonating with the kids.
Very good. Thanks. A question from Mike Batat, longtime former Oracle colleague of mine. Good to see you, Mike. Joe, he asked, Joe, here's another content question. If AI will be filling our information sources and replacing the content creation work that we do, how will content consumers be able to sort through the chaff to find the key nuggets? How will we know that we're getting anything useful, let alone accurate? And I'll add to Mike's question. It's just bots talking to bots, right? My agent is going to filter all the other agent created content, is the cynic take. But Joe, help me out with Mike's question.
I I don't know if I have good news.
Uh-oh.
I really don't. I think that the ability we have the opportunity to as creators and marketers to build trust right now and build that. But as consumers, um, you're only as good as your filter and the questions you have.
Yeah.
And I mean, I already maybe you have this experience. I have people in my life who get 90% of the wrong, what I would say is the wrong information all day long.
Yeah.
That's now. It'll be 100%.
Yeah.
So, and then there's the person next door has a totally different feed of 70% of the wrong information. So I'm in between. I'm not really sure what's going to happen, but I feel that we're going that direction. So I don't know if I have a
Yeah.
solution. But on the other end, I'm like, Wyoming looks really good, and maybe there's a plot of land where I can build a bunker
I
and
know.
get away
I
and
I
get
don't.
away from all this. I
You
think
don't
that
have the
might be the solution.
you don't have the personality type to go prepper bunker guy on me, do you? No.
No, but that's,
Yeah.
I mean, one of the reasons why I wrote the book and why I'm doing all this stuff, because I really believe that, and Rich, you probably already wrote this. I start out with the most important thing we can do with the finding meaning as our life is to serve. So
Yeah.
who's the group? I'm not just saying serve as in Mother Teresa serve. I'm saying, do you serve an audience?
Right.
And how do you make that audience's lives or jobs better in some
Well,
way? And that can go beyond all this other crap we're dealing with from the devices.
Yeah, and I answer that question, and Dennis, our founder here, we're 10 years now with the Bay Area Content Marketing Meetup. We're a site for marketers, knowledge sharing, networking, so that we can expand and share success. And also, it's commiseration. Misery loves company. Like there's, you find after a while, it's same circus, different
That's
clowns.
why the people that we talked about, like you have it, we have to build this group of people around us that we trust and keep us accountable. Because if we don't have, there's no accountability in what the AI is going to deliver to us.
It's the human to human. And I will say among our community here, there are truth tellers, super fans, experts, peers, and connectors. And anyhow, so comment. I do want to get back to more questions. Thank you. Let's see, from Chris, AI struggles with subtext and intuiting human reactions to content. Sorry. AI slop. Any advice on how to contrast and stand out from that? Certified organic content. So it's kind of a related question to Mike Batat's question. I like the idea of certified organic content, like an actual human made this bespoke content for you.
It's a great point. And I think Brian Piper and I were talking about this a couple weeks ago. There's no doubt about it that you'll have the vinyl records of this thing going, which is the thing that I keep coming to, where there will be a human only. I'm not touching any AI. It's just me. You'll have some creators that will stand out. That'll be the 1% of 1%ers. But yes, absolutely, it will be possible. While 99.9% of the other ones are getting this amalgamation of something that we don't really know what it is yet. But yes, absolutely. And I believe if you can build with, and this is really good for marketing too, not just for individual, but if you can build the small group setting, whatever that is, like small workshops, small events, small get-togethers, small dinners, any of those things where you can connect with humans outside of any dashboard, you're going to have a huge opportunity. So right now is the time to start those things and get those going. There's Andy Crestodina, as you all know, does a great job. Whenever he goes to an event, he usually has a dinner, and he invites all these people to dinners, and it's created a kind of a subgroup, and it's benefited Andy a lot.
Good. Got time for about 3 more questions. I want to leave time for the book drawing as well. So Heather Johnson writes, question, Joe, if your personal passion, your personal crazy, is different from your professional crazy, the thing that pays the bills, any advice on keeping focus and momentum? How do you balance those 2 crazies, one professional, one personal?
You'd be surprised that maybe your personal crazy might become your professional crazy, is I guess the way that I'm thinking about it. You can really going to see the inside of how crazy I am with some of this stuff. I really believe if you believe in any of the theories of abundance that we believe that are coming, you're going to see a lot more than just knowledge workers lose their jobs. I mean, marketing is at as much risk as anybody, but I think it's going beyond that. So what's your professional, like, what do we do? If marketing goes away from, like, and it's happening now. I mean, I'm sure you all know some marketers that are losing their jobs. This is just the start of it. It's going to be, we're going to go down. I went through this in 2000 to 2005 in the publishing industry. We had a 35-person graphic design unit in 2000, and 3 years later, it was 1 person.
Wow.
That was just the internet, folks. This is 100x that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of. So I would come back and challenge the question and say, just think twice. Maybe this personal crazy that gives you all your meaning, maybe that's where we need to put the focus. So I don't know if that's the right answer, but it's not, I don't think it's the wrong one either. So
very good. Yeah, no, thanks for sharing. As we approach time, about 6 minutes left. Any other questions? Anyone want to come off mute and speak to Joe? I'm trying to moderate all the questions in the chat here. Anyone? Bueller? There's a dated reference for you, huh? Bueller. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions. One that James poses that I don't know that we can answer, but I'll ask it, James, because you've asked here. And James, you're working in Christian content. You mentioned I'm opening up Nigeria as a big buyer of Christian content. Will all this happen in Africa in 3 years? So the things we're talking about here,
Oh.
Joe, are they globally applicable?
Yeah.
What does this whole thing look like for Africa?
James, I don't know enough about what's going
Okay.
on. I mean, we have some readers from Africa, but other than that, I haven't focused on it. What I believe is for Europe and what's going on in the United States, North America, I'm fairly confident, but I don't know how far that reaches. Obviously, everyone needs to make sure if they have a device, don't have a device, which is my recommendation would be to start walking around without your device, but I think that might be too much to I don't know if people I don't know if we can do that. I don't know if that's a reality that people can live in, but I'd
Right.
like to see some of us go that direction.
Very good.
So.
Okay, I think as I want to leave a little time for the book drawing, I might segue to Dennis. You want to help me with the drawing here, and
Yes.
then I
Rich.
see, yeah, go ahead. I see Bob's chat about the San Mateo event. I'll drop the link here now.
So Rich, do you want to close us out and wrap us up for the recording? And then I'll do the book winners after
Oh, thank you.
I
Yeah,
stop recording.
you're going to fix all this in post, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much, Joe. Always a pleasure. We're really, really fortunate that you spent all this time presenting with us today and promoting your new book, Burn the Playbook, which I haven't burned. I'm starting to highlight. Follow Joe on the links provided, and we'll see you on the very next Bay Area Content Marketing Meetup. Thank you, everyone.